Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Are we crooked or are we straight? I guess it don't much matter, but I'm gonna fix it. There we go. Let's try that. I'm gonna show you a few things this morning. You know I got the Timberpro 830B project underway. And because it is what it is, we have to do it in phases according to how it's financed. Let's just say it that way. We're just gonna leave that alone, not talk about it. But we got everything under control. Everything is great. We put in our first order for parts on, I don't know if it was Tuesday or Wednesday this week, and they showed up yesterday. So I'm gonna unbox this stuff and show you what a lot of money looks like in a box. But it ain't real money. So, seals. We talk about big lip seals. Them are huge ones. These go to the bogie, from the bogie to the axle housing. I know that because we've done enough of them. So it keeps the grease in the bogie bearing, and the two separate, the housing and the bogie bearing. You'll see that later. But I'm just showing you what I got. Just laying everything out for Monday morning for the guys. Trying to keep everything organized. So that's what I got. And then, you know, I'll tell you, I won't show you this per se. There's some things we couldn't get through NAF. They didn't have any in the United States. Not a one. And it was 2 or 3 weeks out from Germany. And what they are is the thrust washers for inside the spider gears. So, as usual, I have resources that I had to pull my resources, and thanks to those guys for getting them. These came out of, you know, that you just got to know how to skin a cat 2 different directions, or maybe 3, as they say. We were able to cross some numbers and blah blah blah, and these came from my friends. They actually had these in stock, so which was good. So I'm very appreciative of that, so we can roll on with this project. These are a very, very crucial part. These brass, they're cool. Should I go into a long drawn out affair today? This takes all the thrust from the differential, which I'll show you that piece here in a minute. They're called adjustment washers. And you'll see they got a little groove in them for oil. And that is a very important part. There's going to be one on each side of that, what do you call it, the cage, the differential cage. There's one on each side, and that lubricates that, the 2 diff gears where the axles come through here into the differential. Very important. Couldn't get them, but I got them. Wow! I'm not going to say that I'm that good, but I'm connected. It helps having friends in in high places. Nah, it's just, that's all about relationships and keeping them up. Don't piss them off, be good. Take care of your folks and they'll take care of you. Okay, be right back. Bring the garbage can over here. I'm back. Back for the attack. This is what they call the differential cage. The spiders go in here. And if you notice, it's one unit. It's heavy. But over here is the pertinent information. These are machined as a unit. They have to go together, they have to stay together, just as much as the ring and the pinion gear. They're made as a pair. So it's still bolted together from when they put it in the box. We pulled this out first yesterday. So all of that stuff that's destroyed, those thrust washers, they go down in here. So, like I said, I'm just unboxing, so bear with me. There are a lot of parts here. And I know input shaft seals, there too, little tidbit of information. For some reason, on the input shaft, where the drive shaft goes in, they're standard American dimension. Whatever. Let's see, that goes here. This may be a little bit boring, but gives me a chance to talk to you guys, show you what it takes. Another thing that I found through, this is the wedge I was talking about we were missing. This little bugger is what the brake canister pushes on to separate the two halves of the brake, to put force onto the brake shoes, brake discs, excuse me. So I had a few of them up north too. Lucky for me, lucky for this customer. And one other thing that I couldn't find anywhere, or they couldn't find, and they said they were 2 or 3 weeks out. These things. The bushings that lock in the spider gears. There too, I found them. Somebody had them. It takes a lot of research to cross numbers and stuff, but we got them. I got enough. We're set to go. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that, how good them guys are with stuff. Hey, there you go, I meant them. It don't want to be in the bag. Damn spooks in here again. Anyways, I just pulled in the tractor backhoe because we're on our last snowfall of the year. I said that last time, but no. Mr. Weatherman is calling for 5 to 7 inches of either snow or rain tonight. And it started melting yesterday, and it's going to be a mess. And so we got the tractor. I just pulled it in. It doesn't need to be in here, but I'm getting ready for another one on a weekend. Yay! Okay. Bearing. O-rings. This seals the diff, what do we call them? The brake section from the center section, the differential. And of course this is one of the bearings. I don't know which one. I know the rest of the stuff though. This is a bearing inside the diff. Another bearing for inside the diff. Gotta have the bearings. Well, that could be the pilot bearings too, or the pinion bearings. Another bearing. See the quality? I'm curious to who makes it, but ooh, made in Germany, all right. Yeah, right. Okay. Let's see what we got here, boys and girls. Ooh, axle seal or a pinion seal. Seals. Basically a grease seal for behind the pinion shaft. Keep the debris out from behind the yoke going into the axle. Gasket for that. Same housing. Circlip. I don't like these, nobody does, but that, another set of O-rings. These are very important also when we set the preload. Shims. Lock tabs. Once you set the preload, you need to use those tabs. The other one was backed out and bent. Axle seals. These go out to the axle where it goes to the bogie. I think I've done this before. I know all these parts just by looking at them. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, very important. Very important in the NAF world. Just to show you this. These are all shims. Whole stack of shims. You guys ever get them and you have NAF axles to work on? Don't throw the rest of them out. These are very important because there too, you have to set the preload on this stuff when you put the bearings in. These are very critical. Not too tight, not too loose. We'll have to get the book out just to know what the preload is, but nonetheless, they send you the whole pack of shims. Don't screw around. Get the whole pack so you can be perfect like that. Perfect? There is no such thing as perfect. You get it just close, dead nuts. But that is a very important piece of this puzzle, as is everything else. That is cool. We got them all. I couldn't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And if I took a calipers to each one or a micrometer, they're going to be all different. So that is part of the puzzle. But it's the fun part. Really getting that thing dead nuts on. So shims. Good to have shims. Let's see what else we got. Another pack of shims. Another pack. Adjustment shims. Okay, I know what this stuff is for. Ooh, another big old fat O-ring. This actually is about a O-ring the size of those seals. They just fold it up and put it in the bag that way. Here's another thing for your mind, okay? When you guys are doing this stuff, the side covers that capture all this is your differential lock with your fork. It's a mini hydraulic piston. That's what it is. It's inside the axle. Spend the $20 and get the seals and reseal it. You're in there. Last thing you want to do is put this thing together and the guy hits the diff lock and the diff fills up with oil because you didn't reseal this. Trust me, it happened to me once. Because I was cheap. Or the customer was pushing me, one of the two. I think it was the latter. I'll blame him. Anyways, get that stuff. Put it in there. Save yourself the hassle. Nobody likes to take them out again, especially what they are. Okay. Ooh, fun, fun, fun. Here we go. What do you all see there? That is the cross, man. Forged. That's a nice piece of work. That is truly a nice piece of work. If you can appreciate machining. So are these. The other ones are all chowdered right to, you know what? Shh, I see something missing. I think we're missing some parts. Won't be good. Anyways, nope, we got, wait. We got to figure this out. We'll figure it out. Here they are. Yeah, we're not missing parts. These are, okay, this is that brass. Come here, brass. So, you know, after I tear this all apart, I have to put it all back together so the guys can figure out what the heck I was doing here. They really like when I do this. They have a lot of fun. Okay, so, explanation. This goes inside that big cage that's too heavy for me to lift. Remember them brass washers I was talking about that nobody had except for the Bunsey guys? That is what this sets. I like to teach that this sets this and this have your axles coming through where my fingers are. My fingers. And then the cross goes between them. And these four fellers here go on that cross, or what we call the spider. I don't know why we call it spider gears, but so that is what gives you your turnage. And then when the diff lock engages, it actually shoves another part in. But this is all caged inside the differential cage. Hope that all makes sense to you folks. Okay, I'll put that down and keep moving on. Because this whole job started with what? Class? What did this whole job start with? Remember Kyle showing them parts? The steels, steel plates, voila, nice and flat, perfect. You know, I gotta say, there too, you don't think this stuff costs money or why it costs money, but it's probably oh, that looks like that's a stamped part, but that is a, what do you call it, surface ground. That surface is perfectly flat. So when you stack all these up, you've got no weeble wobbles. Okay, so there's a whole stack of them. And like I said, this is the whole reason this job started, right? Nice. Friction discs. So, for those of you that don't understand, heck, your old little motorcycles when I was a kid used to have it set up like this for the clutch. A little different. This is actually a brake, but it's the same scenario. You got a steel disc, a friction plate, a steel disc, a friction plate, steel disc, friction plate, and I think there's 8 on either side of the wedge that I'm going to show you next. Water's making it to the drain. So anyways, we got that. Nice. And like I said, most of this stuff was in North America. We were able to get it right short, quick. They used to have the thing up in Canada, and they moved it. They moved their warehouse to the US of A. There they are. What do we call this professionally? Let's just call it a part number. They don't have a name on this. It's the expander. Come here, you. Oh, got it. Staple so don't poke this out. So, this is what does all your work. Right here. My finger is. I show you. If I find it. I find it. You gotta bear with me because teaching is hard sometimes. So, remember this thing? The brake, hydraulic, piston assembly. We call them brake cans that are on the exterior of that differential. This little guy right here with this arrow, there's two rollers right here. This little guy fits in there, and when that hydraulic cylinder pushes this way, you can see these springs. There's ball bearings in between here, and what that does when it pushes is it splits and it rotates apart. These lock everything in, these tabs. These were broke when if you remember in the earlier video, remember the chunks we found in there? So that spins it apart, therefore applying pressure to the plates and the friction discs, stopping your machine dead in its tracks. So we were hoping these weren't wrecked, because that's quite a chunk of money there. But it is what it is, they were wrecked. There's one on each side of the axle. So that's it. I think we have all of the PARTs. Here's one wrapped just a little bit differently. Somebody must have been in it once. Yeah, they just call it the operating disc assembly. So that's it. So I got all of the pots. It will be a joy and a pleasure to put this thing back together with all these parts, I'll tell you. Another little story on it is, sometimes when we're, like when this happens to a Ponza, we have resources. Let's say they have a remanufactured differential complete, so we don't have to go through all this work. You know, if it happens to you, you got to ask them parts guys if they have one. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But in this case, when we called the manufacturer, they didn't have even a new one available. So our only option was to build it ourselves. So that's why you see all these parts here. And it's no big deal. It takes a little longer. You got to be a little bit more, you got to be on your game with as far as clearances and the crush and the, what do you call it? The preload on the bearings. And you got to have the right information to work, in which we do. So this is going to be a nice, beautiful install here. Getting everything ready for next week. So we will talk to you later. Thanks for coming along for the unbox. And we'll see you later. See you, bye. So what do you all think of that?